Hey, I'm Siobhan, community cultivator and founder of Be Free Project. The Be Free Project podcast was created for community, sisterhood, and personal growth. Each week, you'll be inspired and motivated to do the work to show up for yourself so you too can feel fulfilled and be free. Now grab a pen and a notebook and let's get into the show. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm always grateful to be in your ears once again. This week, what I'm loving, I am currently studying friendship. And what I mean by that, I'm listening to different talks, I'm reading books and articles all around friendship. And the reason that I'm doing this, number one, friendship is one of my top values. I really pride myself on being a great friend, but then also attracting amazing friends in my life. And I want my relationships and my friendships to continue to grow and to flourish. And I know in order to do that, I want to just make sure that I'm well versed on this topic. I also want to be in this space of when you think about friendship, you think about Be Free Project or Siobhan Sudbury, because I want to teach other women as well. How do you build real, authentic, genuine friendships that feel good to your soul? And that's what we talk about in the Be Free Inner Circle. I now say that it's your community where you're going to find your forever friends and you're going to get accountability doing the work. And I know that you need community, you need friends to really support you on this journey. And I don't feel like it's meant to be done alone. And so as I'm teaching the women within the Be Free Inner Circle, what it means to cultivate the right relationships, and they're doing an amazing job at that, I also want to make sure that I'm well versed. So as I continue to teach on this topic, I'm speaking based on what I know with the knowledge and information that I'm consuming and not just from personal experience. So with the knowledge and the information and my personal experience, I really want to not only become a better friend, but then teach, other women how to just have these amazing friendships. I have done a really great job at, attracting friends who match my energy, and I want to teach other women how to do the same. And so I'm studying it, and I'm having oh man, it's just the books that I'm reading have been so insightful, and I'll be sharing more of those to come. So stay tuned for that. So this particular episode, y'all, it is a two-part episode or two-part series, and I'm calling it My Awakening. So today will be My Awakening Part 1, and then the upcoming episode will be My Awakening Part 2. And the reason that I'm breaking this down into two different parts, initially I thought, oh yeah, my awakening moment, this is everything that happened. But then 2020 has been a whole nother awakening for me. And so I want to break them down into two different parts because I feel that it's necessary. So I just want to kind of give you the path of my journey and how I got to where I'm at today. And so when I think about my personal growth journey and how it all started, I remember one Sunday I was at church and the message was really good. The pastor was on fire. I remember leaving with an emotional high. Like I just felt so good. And then as I'm driving home, all of a sudden I feel this moment of sadness, or I have this moment of sadness, and I started weeping in my car, so much so that I had to pull my car over because the tears were just flowing, and I was just in an emotional state where I wasn't able to drive my car anymore. And so I pulled my car over and I just started crying and crying and crying, and I was just overwhelmed with sadness. And when I thought about it, the reason that I was so sad in that moment is because I was living in fear. I was actually afraid to go home because I felt like when I went home, either my house would be burned down or my kids would be gone, my husband would have left me, something extreme like that because of my abandonment issues that I had. And so I lived in fear for a very long period of my life. But this particular Sunday is when I had that emotional experience that I couldn't take it anymore. And I remember that following Wednesday, I went to Bible study and I met with one of the ministry leaders who was also a therapist. And I went and talked to her and I expressed to her what I had experienced, driving home. I told her about the fears that I had and then I expressed to her, what I was feeling with my mother wounds and that my mother, the choices that my mother made and how those choices had impacted me. And I was sitting on her couch crying and she was just listening to me. And it felt good even in that moment just to release, but I knew that I needed more. And she said how I had come to her at the perfect time because in the next couple of weeks, she was going to be teaching a small group called Healing the Mother Wounds. And she said, the only thing that you need to do is to buy your book. And I really think this would be the perfect fit for you. And I felt like based on what she shared about the class, it was the perfect fit. And so I went ahead and I signed up. I registered for the class. I bought the book. And then several weeks later, I started therapy. And it was a unique experience because every woman there had a similar experience where they were healing their mother wounds or they were there to heal their mother wounds. And going to this particular counseling group, I felt like I wasn't alone. And it was the first time that I was around other women who could relate to me. And I remember setting the intention that I could not leave the same way that I was walking in the door. And I got to tell y'all, it was hard. I think that was probably one of the hardest experiences of my life because when you have to unpack the pain from your childhood and go back to that time when you were hurt the most, that is not easy work, right? And so every single week for 4 consecutive months, every Saturday, I went in and I poured my heart out. And it wouldn't be until the very last session where we were all standing up. Every woman in the group was standing in a circle in front of her chair. And the therapist was walking around person by person by person. And she was asking each woman, how do you feel? And so I'm thinking in my head as I'm watching her go around the room, what am I going to say when she gets to me? I don't know how I feel. And so she finally gets in front of me and I'm standing in front of my chair and she looks me straight in my eyes and she says, how do you feel? And I say with tears in my eyes, I don't know. And at this point, my legs started shaking and I started crying even more. And she pulled me in close and she started squeezing me and pressing certain points of my back. And to this day, I don't know why. And she asked every woman that was in the room to stretch her arms towards me and to start to pray. And I remember in that moment, I felt seen. I felt safe. I felt like I could release. And I will never forget the experience that I had that day because I felt like the 15-year-old girl who had experienced so much pain had died. And the 32-year-old woman that I had been at the time had been rebirthed. And that is when I felt free. That is when I felt liberated. That is when I started to feel like I could breathe again. And from that moment, my life would unfold in such a beautiful way. And after that particular 4 months of therapy, I had awareness that I was stuck in my life. So you see, I had started working through my mother wounds, but I also started to feel like there was more to life than the roles that I had of being a mother, a wife, an employee. I wanted more, but I had no idea where to even start. I didn't know or have anyone to look to say, hey, I'm feeling stuck in my life. I just knew that I felt lost. I felt confused. I felt empty. I felt like there should be more to life than this. And so I would start to listen to Oprah's masterclass, and I would start to read books like The Alchemist, Eat, Pray, Love, The Four Agreements. And I started being open-minded and desiring more because that's what the books were teaching me. And as I was learning a little bit more, I started to feel like, okay, I don't have to stay in this place. I'm going to figure out what my next move should be. And so for me, the next move was to cut my hair. I used to have long hair, almost bra strap length. But I had been looking at really cute hairstyles, like natural hairstyles with like a short mohawk kind of look. And I remember just following this one girl, I believe on Pinterest at the time. And I'm like, her hair is so dope. I'm going to do it. And I did it. I went to the salon. And I told the stylist I wanted to cut it all off. And she said, are you sure? And I'm like, yes. And again, she cut all the hair off to a cute little mohawk. And again, it was that feeling of, I'm free. I'm liberated. Because I was, for the first time, I feel like doing something that was just for me, that I wanted to do because I wanted to do it. And from that point on, I've kept my hair short ever since. And after that, I think that was back in 2012. So 2013 is when the other shift in my awakening begins to happen, because I was registering my son for kindergarten. And it was an emotional experience for me because my baby boy was now going off to school. And I was having a whole emotional experience in my car, processing all of my feelings. And I get a call from the director at my job saying, effective October of 2013, the site will be closing and everybody is going to be permanently laid off. And I remember in that moment, my eyes welling up with tears because I was shocked and I was in disbelief. What was I going to do next? And I heard God speak in my right ear saying, this is your opportunity to take a chance on yourself. And I had no clue what that even meant. All I knew is that I was going to listen to the voice that I heard. And I knew that I had been doing my inner work with going to therapy, reading books, cutting my hair off because I wanted to do it. Like I knew I had started something that the voice that I heard, I could trust it. And so I did. And I decided to step out on my own, to do my own thing. And I launched Be Free Project February of 2014. And I have been a full-time entrepreneur ever since. And so my awakening moment was the level of clarity that I've received. And it started the day that I left church and I was weeping. And I decided to go to therapy. And through therapy, I started reading the books. And from reading the books, I cut my hair. And cutting my hair led me to being more open to change, right? And then getting laid off from my job and taking a chance on myself. And I believe that we all have an awakening moment. I believe it's different for every single person. I think you can have more than one because I definitely did. And I'm so glad that I trusted what I heard. I am so grateful for every single experience that I've had thus far because it's how I've been able to grow in such a beautiful way. So I'm sharing all this to say, I want you to think through your moment. What pivotal moment happened where the light bulb went off for you, where you knew it was time to change your life? Maybe it's while you're listening to this episode. Maybe it's something that happened this year. But whatever it was, I want you to write that down. Because I want your awakening story to be your motivation to keep going. That if you were able to get through dark times when you thought you couldn't succeed, when you thought that you couldn't take it anymore, when you felt like you couldn't breathe, you'll know that when you go back to that story, you've been able to move forward step by step by step. So this week, your journal prompt is, how can you feel more fulfilled in your life? And your affirmation is, I deserve a good life. I want to also invite you to the Be Free Inner Circle, a community of like-minded women where you will find your forever friends and you will be held accountable to do the work. Because when you have your awakening moment, you want to be surrounded by women who are also doing their work so that you can grow and encourage one another. And the community is such a beautiful, amazing community of women all over doing their work and supporting one another. And so you can head over to BeFreeInnerCircle.com to learn more. If you ever have a question, you can always shoot me an email. And if this episode was inspiring to you in any way, shape, or form, and you want to support my work, you can treat me to a cup of coffee. I will always say yes, and the link is in my show notes to do that. And then don't forget to share this episode with a friend who can use a little encouragement in her day. And if you're feeling really fancy, leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I will greatly appreciate it. Until next time, girl, be free.
Hi, my name is Samara. I'm from Connecticut. I joined the Be Free Inner Circle because I followed Siobhan for many years and liked what she was sharing about living your best life. What I love most about the Be Free Inner Circle is the supportive community, the workshops, and daily problems that engage great conversation, all to help me grow to be better and live the life that I want.